At 10, Mrs. Afton. We know little about Mrs. Afton. We don't even know if there really was a Mrs. Afton. We know William probably had some form of woman in his life, assuming his kids are his biological kids and not adopted ones, but we also have no idea of who this woman was, or if she's alive, if she died, or if she just divorced William. Or, hell, she could have just been the baby mama. There have been many rumors or ideas that were started by different FNAF parody songs and animations involving car accidents and the missus walking in on whatever William was doing, but none of these have ever been confirmed, so treating them as fact is just a major mistake. There is also no official name yet for Mrs. Afton. Some people call her Clara because of The Immortal and the Restless, the soap opera from Sister Location, since there was a vampire in purple that people compared to William, which for some reason meant that even though William's name isn't Vlad, that Clara was 100% the name of his wife, which isn't true, okay? Clara Afton doesn't exist, at least yet. And some, including myself, think that Vanessa from Security Breach will be revealed as Mrs. Afton, or at least an earlier version of her. Or at least the baby mama, whatever. But she has no canon name as of yet, so stop calling her Clara Afton, okay? If I see it in the comments, I'm gonna rage. And at 9, Bite of 87. The Bite of 87 has been around since the first FNAF game, the mysterious incident of someone getting their frontal lobe removed when bitten by an animatronic. We think the one who got bit is Jeremy, at least some do, but we don't know who did the biting. Some think that it was Golden Freddy, some think that it was FREDDY'S because of FNAF 4, even though that took place in 1983, not 1987. But this incident has been a point of frustration for a lot of FNAF theorists over the years, and the funny part is, it doesn't matter anymore. The story has evolved so much and gotten so convoluted that the Bite of 87 has no impact on the story anymore. I don't think figuring out what animatronic bit someone's brain is gonna help us figure out how William turned his spirit into scannable code and then took over a VR game in Hell Wanted. I just don't. The world of FNAF has moved far away from the original Survive Five Nights and think about why the animatronics are breathing weird, changing newspaper clippings on the posters and wall. Yeah, we're in the endgame now. And at 8 is William back. The man who always comes back. Honestly, I thought we were done with him, until he showed a weird stitched up face in Help Wanted. And now, with the release of the State of Play trailer for Security Breach, he could no longer just be game code. The final shot of that trailer was a metallic hand reaching out from behind a box, with purple light reflected on it, and what appeared to be some form of substance melted onto it. It could be flesh, could be a furry suit, it could just be the metal was warping. But alas, it was on fire. And this man, who I thought was finally dead, could only be getting started. If he can come back from death, nothing would be able to stop him, unless we launch all of the world's nukes at him, thus ending the world, but also ending William once and maybe for all. But even then, he'd probably come back. He's like a cockroach. Or Cher. And at 7, technology. Another lingering problem I've had with this series is their technology. How are they so damn advanced? These people have fully functioning AI and advanced free-roaming animatronics in the 80s, yet somehow when I even suggest the idea of them having cell phones, people freak out in the comments. Like, why do they have all this technology? A robot dog that can text you, that also is always watching and listening, that will kill anything you show emotion towards, good or bad? How is it possible? They've always had advanced technology, and it's a big mystery to me as to how. Their world doesn't seem much different to ours, at least ignoring the whole Chuck E. Cheese killing spree and ghost possessing hard drives, but who knows, that might be a thing in our world. They had advanced technology before the remnant metal, and even without it, William made things like small discs that create illusions thanks to emitting high frequency sounds. Why? And at 6, legal action. Why hasn't anyone taken legal action against FAZBEAR Inc? Sure, there was an investigation, but why didn't anyone open those damn animatronics? Especially when they were leaking and smelt like, I don't know, a rotting corpse? Plus, I'm sure the families of the missing children from the incident could all come together and sue FAZBEAR Inc. since their kids went missing on their property. I mean, they may not win anything, but they could tie them up with legal fees while also splitting the cost of one attorney for the group. Plus, since it would be such big news, FAZBEAR Inc. would be totally ruined, but why didn't they? I mean, sure they might have, but we would have learned about it. There was no real legal action taken to get justice for those who went missing. Sure, they tried some stuff, but nothing stuck since they never found the bodies, because they didn't do the obvious thing and search inside the disgusting, leaking, smelly animatronics. It's almost like William had the police in his pocket. Although, at this point, that's probably not the case, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. At breakthrough number 5, how are they open? I kinda mentioned this in the last number, but how on earth is FAZBEAR Inc. still alive and profiting? There have been multiple cases of kids going missing in FAZBEAR establishments. Plus, the games that Scott Cawthon's in-universe stand-in created only made their reputation worse. So bad, in fact, that they had to make their own VR game to try to fix their reputation. Sure, Tape Girl says that they hired Scott to make the games to try and make everything blow over, but we don't know if we can trust her. She could be Vanny for all we know. How is their restaurant open and functional? How did they manage to upgrade to an entire pizzaplex with multiple areas, a go-kart track, laser tag arena, mini golf, a giant jungle gym? How could they do all this while the stories of children going missing is still very much a thing, even after William's death? There have been so many fires additionally at various FNAF locations. FNAF 3 burnt down. FNAF 6's location burnt down. People have to know that something is going on. Why are they still bringing their kids? It's probably the people thinking, oh, it won't happen to me until it does. And at 4, FAZBEAR Frights. The FAZBEAR Frights books have helped us solve a lot of the lore, but that's because we've been applying what we see in these books to the story of the games. Fair enough, since everything is usually connected with Scott, but is that what we should be doing? Do these have anything to do with the games? Is the Stitch Wraith going to be introduced, or will it remain in the books? Are we right to assume the burnt man in room 1280 is meant to be William Afton? And does that mean that everyone who told me he died when he was spring-locked have now finally been proven wrong, since the spirit of the child possessing him would have saved him from that? Does that mean everyone in the world knows what William did even though they can't prove it? Because nurses straight up try to kill this man while he lays there, like, basically comatose. We don't know, and we won't know until the entire series is wrapped up. Maybe. Pretty sure the last one is going to be releasing in June or July, or maybe 9 won't be the last one. So who knows? There was only supposed to be 5 at the start, so I think that I've given up thinking that anything is real. Getting close to the end in number 3, timeline. The full complete timeline is a complicated system that nobody has quite been able to crack. MapPad did a good job, but there are still holes there. The full timeline is a mystery that scares every FNAF theorist or would-be theorist just due to its sheer complexity. Multiple events happening at the same time, conflicting statements from multiple sources. The list goes on and on. But even when applying the rules MapPad did, you still have unanswered questions. This is horrifying because we will never know the true story of FNAF. At least until Scott releases a novel that is canon to the games, or that movie comes out for God's sakes. If you're looking for a cast, just let me know, Scott. I'm willing to get killed by an animatronic on camera if that's what it takes. The full timeline is something that can probably never be solved, but we will keep on trying. Maybe we can get a timeline of help wanted and after, since I doubt things will be, like, conflicting after this. I hope. And at 2, Crying Child. The Crying Child has been a mystery ever since FNAF 4. He doesn't have a name, despite what people may be calling him, and there is currently a theory working on trying to uncover his name, but as of yet, he isn't named Chris, he isn't named Doug, he isn't named Larry, but not only his name is a mystery, the character himself is a mystery. He dies at the end of FNAF 4, but is told that he will get put back together, presumably by William. But we don't know if he was actually put back together. A while ago I had a theory that he was put back together, but as Michael. And that's what the security logbook was hinting at when it says, do you remember your name, and the party was for you. However, others have different theories, but I stand by mine. But the Crying Child at this point could be anyone. It could be Gregory from Security Breach in all honesty. They both have brown hair and are fascinated with the FazBear restaurants, so maybe we haven't seen the last of the Crying Child. Finally, in at number 1, why? Why is a question we ask ourselves a lot. Why are we here? Why were we created? But one question every FNAF fan wants answered is, why did William Afton start killing? There are plenty of explanations. None of them, however, have ever been confirmed or canonized. They are all theories. Maybe his wife left him. Maybe she was killed in a car accident. Maybe she walked in on William doing a messed up experiment and William had to deal with her and then he got a taste for it. Maybe he just snapped. Maybe Henry drove him to do it. Maybe he was abused. Maybe he got bullied. Maybe he's the typical run-of-the-mill psychopath. We don't know. And that's partly what makes him such a great villain. We don't know his starting motivations. Later on we learn that he keeps doing this because he wants to live forever with the, the Remnant medal. But before discovering Remnant, we have no idea what his idea was. It could be the key to unlocking the entire series, but we wouldn't know it. And at 10, tally marks. The security logbook has had a load of little things that we don't quite understand. one of which is the various tally marks we can find throughout the book. 5 on page 9, 10 on page 19, 14 on page 31, 5 on page 36, and another 5 on page 100. Nobody has really been able to determine what these are meant to mean. The word search doesn't have 100 spaces, alphanumeric ciphers only yield a group of letters, not a word, and nowhere else in the logbook is there something that relates to them. They're a seemingly totally arbitrary thing that has no impact on the story. But they have to mean something, right? They aren't just there for no reason. There has to be some sort of answer or code. But nobody has been able to find anything concrete yet as far as I could tell. If this isn't the case, please let me know in the comments, because I can't find that. No, okay? There is just no explanation. The only thing I can think of is that maybe it represents the amount of victims William took, since they seem to appear with the appearance of a character from a new game. The first 5 are when we're talking about a new animatronic. The next 10 are at the first appearance of Balloon Boy. Others appear around the puppet next. Or maybe they're just the amount of new victims. And at 9, what do you remember? There seems to be something else going on in this book as well. Some people seem to think that there's a spirit possessing it and it's trying to reveal Golden Freddy's name. But it's also talking to us about what we remember. So what could we have forgotten? What is this thing that the book wants us to remember from our past? Well, I think I could have an answer to that in all honesty. Check out the top 10 reasons FNAF Crying Child is Michael Afton for that info. But nevertheless, it's still a confusing line. It asks us multiple more things like was our favorite ride the carousel, and was our favorite toy a purple plastic telephone, but why does it want us to remember these things? What does whatever it is want from us? Is it a spirit, or is it just us hallucinating? In a date with Chica. The very last page of the logbook, what would have been page 112, has a faded picture of some form of withered Chica on it. It seems not as run down, since there is still an arm cage for the upper arm and the left arm still has a forearm, but there is no explanation as to why this is there, and why it's the last thing we see. Aside from coupons and the cover, we only see Chica 7 times in the whole book, whereas someone like Foxy or Freddy we see many more times. So why does this image have to be the capstone of the book? Why is it so important that this is the last thing we see? As per usual with this series, it's unclear. I put the image into Photoshop to see if there was anything I could find that was going to help, like hidden messages, maybe some sort of review like he's got it hidden within other game trailers and stuff. But no, I just got a slightly clearer picture of the withered Chica. Didn't really help. And it's 7 inconsistencies. This book blew some things we thought we knew up, and confirmed some other things. But what the book is really good at doing is blowing up the things we thought we knew, but then blowing up the things we thought we knew again because of the book. For example, the identity of Michael Afton. Thanks to the book we thought it was the crying child, but then thanks to the book again we thought it was the older brother because he chews a lot of gum. I still think that it's both, therefore it's not an inconsistency to me, but for everyone who doesn't believe me it's confusing. Plus there's a matter of changing text. Why are some phrases switched with others for some random reason? Are they hallucinations or is it a spirit? How are we supposed to know? We don't! And that's the issue! And at 6, what are we missing? The logbook that I'm probably going to end up calling the lore book at some point accidentally in this video has a load of things hidden in so many places. But that to me makes me think that there has to be something that we've missed. With the amount of bullshit we've been seeing with this book, there has to be something we've glossed over or ignored for the sake of the bigger picture that totally fixes our understanding of this book. I've looked at this thing upside down, backwards, sideways, and nothing caught my eye. I went over every inch of this thing with a black light. I literally purchased a FNAF book for the sole purpose of trying to figure out what was going on with it. And nothing. To be fair, I got it after Cassidy's name had already been revealed, but there is so much here that we just don't know or understand. There has to be something we're missing, there has to be, but we don't know what we don't know. Halfway through number 5, blood. One of the gimmicks of this book is that it's a survival book. Michael writes in it so we can survive working at Freddy's. However, this thing is covered in blood and everyone just ignores that. Us as the reader / new recipient ignore it. The company ignored it when they gave it to us, putting a simple sticky note on it saying, oh no, someone's already written in this, instead of giving us a fresh one. Like what the hell? It's not our blood, it's not Michael's because he dies in FNAF 6, which also places this book in the timeline somewhere between FNAF 5 and 6, so between Sister Location and Pizzeria Simulator, since he references things like casual bongos and exotic butters, but not Helpy or any newer animatronics. And since this book came out nearly a year after FNAF 6, it's good to know the timing, but that still doesn't explain why the damn book has more blood than Lil Nas X's freaking dope ass shoes. And at 4, dreams. Dream a better dream. There is a whole page dedicated to asking us about our dreams, with faded text that asks us if we have dreams. And then Mike proceeds to draw none other than Nightmare. Literally how? It's impossible if he was actually the older brother for him to know what Fredbear looks like, since Crying Child saw it as a hallucination in the hospital and then died before possibly being able to tell anyone. Like, how is this still a thing? Why is this still a thing? This is the one detail that makes me sure of my Crying Child is Michael Afton theory. Michael must be a robot version of the Crying Child, or of Crying Child somewhere inside of it, because this wouldn't make sense otherwise. How can you explain Mike knowing what Nightmare looks like, but also him being the older brother? You can't. It's actually impossible unless he's a robot. That's why I'm sure. Getting close to the end in number 3, my name. The book started as being the reveal for the name of Golden Freddy, Cassidy. Some believe that Cassidy was the one giving us faded text, but if she was possessing Golden Freddy, then how could she possess the book too? The other thing that the book keeps saying though is, what is your name, not just mine? Even if it was Cassidy, them asking for our name makes me think that we don't know our true name either. Take the crossword, the one that revealed Cassidy's name. Along the bottom row we see the phrase, what is your name? Not my name like we've seen on the gravestone and in other places, but your name, as in ours, the reader / Michael. That same crossword asks us, who are you? Not who am I, who are you? Us again as Michael. The page after shows us a mirror and asks what we see, again asking about us. And referencing the start of the book that says to take a minute for self-reflection, and the mirror scene from Sister Location when Michael has purple eyes. And on page 79 the phrase my name appears, but it has very red print instead of being faded like it was previously, making me think that it could have been Mike that wrote that in the first place. And at number 2, spirits? One of the bigger theories going around is that the survival logbook is possessed by 2 spirits, one that writes in faded text and the other that changes things that appear on the pages. I don't think that this theory is true, but after Matt had talked about it, it blew up and a load of people take it as fact. And that's one of the issues I have. You don't take theories as fact. This idea came about after someone noticed that on Nights 4 and 5 reviews, some text is altered to say things like, it was for me, I'm scared and I can't see, instead of the typical, existential dread meter. This theory is a good one. It provides answers and it seems to point to Crying Child being the other spirit. And this could explain why the other parts of the book are messed up, like the page numbers, but other than that, it wouldn't really make sense, unless this book is literally an allegory for Golden Freddy. Finally, and at number 1, the party was for who? The issue I have with the 2 spirits theory, however, is that even after the Crying Child responds to Cassidy saying the party was for you, by saying the party was for me, Cassidy still says it again. Why would Cassidy say the party was for you after the Crying Child had already acknowledged that it was? It's almost like it wasn't meant for him to see. Coincidence? I think not. That's right, I said it again because I can. The party was for us. We are Michael, Michael is Crying Child, and I don't know why I'm yelling.
Number 10. Who does what and when? I mean, this one we kind of have an idea for, but even the working theories based on the novels and the games don't really make a ton of sense in practice, especially if you try to put them together. Initially in the trilogy, it's made to seem like Henry is the brains behind the brilliant animatronics, while William is more the suit, the charismatic business entrepreneur that is the driving force behind FAZBEAR Entertainment. And yet after the death of Henry, William must be the one creating the animatronics, right? But also, William must be operating under some kind of pseudonym, as he should also be a wanted criminal at this point. And then if William and Henry started FAZBEAR, I mean, who's running it now? Were they both still running it for a time together, even after all the scandals and all the stuff between them? Or maybe just one of them was running it. Or maybe they were both sort of running it. Is William somehow still involved in the decisions the business makes, operating in, I don't know, some disguised manner so people don't know who he is? This is all logistics, but when you get into logistics with FNAF, things quickly get confusing. Also, if there's like a new CEO, do they have like any idea of like what's going on? Are they aware that the animatronics are dangerous? Because then there is the lore from Special Delivery and the emails there, which makes me think they don't know, but that they have to deal with it, and it's just like, wow, there's a lot going on here. How does the business run? I need like another instructional video, please, on corporate FAZBEAR Entertainment. Quick! Number 9, Jeremy FITZGERALD. Another one that remains a mystery is Jeremy FITZGERALD. Was he just a poor soul stuck working at Freddy's, or was he somehow connected to the Aftons? Is he the same Jeremy mentioned in Help Wanted, or is that just a coincidence? In the world of FNAF, we don't really like to believe in just coincidences. And so it's likely that Jeremy is another piece to the intricate puzzle of FNAF that we just simply don't know quite where to place yet. And friends, if you are loving this video as much as I am loving communicating it to you, please be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Every time you click like on one of our videos, somewhere a clue is found to solve one of these mysteries. Give us more clues. Click like. Number 8. How did Michael Afton survive? We can kind of chalk this one up to suspension of disbelief in storytelling, if we wanted, but what fun would that be? There must be more going on here than just required suspension of disbelief in a story about souls that possess animatronics, making them eternally vengeful and murderous, right? After Michael is scooped, Ennard wears him as a sort of skin suit disguise, but Michael still somehow survives this experience. Even after his flesh is rotted and he's upchucked the nuts and bolts and other components of Ennard from within him, he collapses, and then somehow he seems to come right back to life, with Circus Baby's voice reassuring him that he won't die. But why? How? What? Is Michael a robot? Because honestly, friends, I think he might be a robot. Number 7, Ultimate Custom Night. What is even the real lore behind Ultimate Custom Night? Is it some kind of hell dimension where William Afton is the protagonist and is constantly punished night after night for his sins? Or is it just a game and there's really no lore here at all? It's just a fun, completely customizable FNAF gameplay experience. Or is it possible UCN is neither of these things, but there's actually something else going on here in terms of the story? With so many of the other games helping to build the world and lore of FNAF, it's really hard for fans to dismiss Ultimate Custom Night as just a fun experience. Besides, some of the animatronics say what feel like pretty targeting and specific things, which makes us want to believe even more that UCN has a greater place in the story of FNAF. Number 6, Circus Baby. Why did William Afton make an animatronic for his daughter that in effect could kill her, and was kind of built to kill her? So, wait a minute, what does this mean? Was Circus Baby made for this actual intention, or did William simply make a mistake when he was creating her? Was she modded after to become the perfect accomplice to William's crimes, or did he build her with that intention and simply claim that she was a gift for his daughter? Was it like a weird cover-up? Was his daughter the one who actually was maybe into kidnapping to begin with, which is why he designed Circus Baby like that? Like it was for her, so it really was for her, but like she was the one that was into it? It's getting confusing in my brain. Oh man. Could Elizabeth Afton really be the mastermind behind all of this? Or was she perhaps just part of an experiment? An experiment William Afton was willing to use his own daughter for, if she really is William's real daughter at all. Basically, I just have a lot of questions about why Circus Baby was made, and I think you do too. And sorry, I know I didn't really come close to any answers with this point, I just spun more webs of craziness, but there's a lot of potential here for where we could go with the explanations, and there's a lot of confusing options for what could be going on here, so that's that. I know it's crazy to say that Elizabeth could be the mastermind behind all of this, like I know how crazy that sounds, but what if Elizabeth is the mastermind behind all of this? Ah! It was Elizabeth all along. Number 5, who is Crying Child? Is Crying Child the third and maybe not even final sibling in the Afton family tree? Or is Crying Child some kind of red herring? Or some younger version of Michael that we just don't completely understand yet as to how it all fits in? Is Crying Child Evan, or is this name too some kind of mystery puzzle piece that belongs elsewhere? Is Evan even the name we were meant to find in Survival Logbook? I don't know. I feel like there is still so little that we know about when it comes to Crying Child. I mean, we don't even yet have an 100% confirmed name here. I don't see how this could come into play, but maybe Security Breach will have some more answers for us. I just really need some William Afton flashbacks to clear stuff up here, friends. Number 4, Mrs. Afton. If there even is one, at this point, I'm not so sure. The mystery here is basically all about who is Mrs. Afton, and is there a Mrs. Afton? If so, what happened to her? Is she still possibly alive today? Anytime we have a good old nuclear family introduced in the media, many people want to know who their parents are. But they especially want to know if half of that duo happens to be a serial killer who made a whole franchise and army of animatronics to help him. Some people refer to Mrs. Afton as Clara, believing that the character that we see in the soap opera, The Immortal and the Restless, serves as an allusion to her, and possibly an allusion to her story. However, we still don't know for sure if Mrs. Afton exists or ever existed. Someone has to be the mother of these children though, right? Unless they're robots. I'm just saying. I'm not saying they're robots, but they could be. Number 3, Vanny, victim or accomplice? With Vanny or Vanessa, there are so many questions. Are Ness, Vanessa, and Vanny even all the same person? Are they separate people? Or are some of the 3 of them the same and then some different? Are they like a pair of twin sisters? I would believe that. Do they have any kind of familial or romantic connection to William or the Aftons? But more important, is Vanny the reluctant follower reluctant because they are new to this world of darkness? Or because they simply don't want to be involved at all. I personally think that there is some kind of brainwashing or some sort of sinister force really going on that is taking control of Vanny, and Vanny is the victim. But the reluctance could simply be from an uncertainty that comes when, you're new to something, meaning that Vanny might be just a little bit more hesitant to begin with, but may be fully committed to the cause by the time security breach rolls around. Number 2, why does William kill? This has to be one of the greatest mysteries of all time. We know that William has children, or at least appears to have children, who acknowledge him as well as their father. He is one of the co-creators of a restaurant franchise advertised as being family friendly. By all accounts, on paper, he'd seem like a family man, like a sweetheart, and yet he is compelled to take the lives of others, and because of this has actually corrupted his animatronics, also causing them to become murderous. But why? For what purpose? Did some event in his life trigger this change? Was it the loss of his wife? And why does he feel compelled to target kids when he himself has kids? Number 1, the horrific timeline. Many gamers, avid fans, and content creators have tried to piece together this timeline, and yet it remains one of the greatest mysteries of all. Not just of FNAF, of all. We have some details that help us to solidify when events take place, but then there are also contradictions within even some of the best timelines. Not only that, but there are a lot of holes, or rather potholes. Kind of like a plot hole, but a little different. Unsuspecting holes that we didn't even know existed, usually, until a new date is given, a new location spotted that causes us to fall into one. A big plot pothole. You'd think with more information we would get a more clear idea of the timeline, but it just seems to only make the ever-expanding history of Freddy's seem more convoluted and confusing.
Minute 10, location. The location of the FNAF game has been quite the mystery over the years, but thanks to the paychecks we get at the end of the games, the area had been narrowed down to Utah, but that was as close as we got, since minimum wage doesn't vary from city to city. But thanks to the community of file divers who were finally able to share their findings on the Reddit pages, we got more specific thanks to the fast facts found in FNAF AR's files. Quote, despite the name, hurricanes are actually not the leading cause of death of children in Hurricane, Utah. This is just a more specific confirmation of the location the game takes place in. Like, I don't know if there's any significance behind the location or if maybe there's a deeper meaning for Scott, but nonetheless it was a mystery that was solved and confirmed to be canon, at least until Lumix or Scott confirms the Faz facts as not canon, which hasn't happened yet as of this recording, so if it has happened when you're watching this, don't get mad at me. And at 9, bad ending. The FNAF 3 bad ending was honestly pretty cut and dry when it came out, not much mystery to it. But with the revelation that Golden Freddy might have been possessed by 2 spirits, some seem to think that this ending was hinting at it all along, but this wasn't the case, thanks to multiple factors actually. So the 2-eye theory states that in the FNAF 3 bad ending there are 2 eyes lit up in the head and the back, which we assume is Golden Freddy, to show that there are 2 souls. But this can't be the case. Firstly, it would be more difficult to tell that it was an animatronic head if only 1 eye was lit, since all we see are the eyes, and it could very well just be a reflection from the first light since it's so dark. Notice how Freddy also has a light coming out of his second eye. Secondly, Crying Child hasn't been introduced yet, not coming until the next game. That wasn't even going to happen until the community was disappointed in the Springtrap jump scare, since this was supposed to be the end of the series. That's why we released the souls in the Happiest Day minigame. Also notice that only 1 person in that minigame wears a Golden Freddy mask. And according to the official Freddy Files Updated Edition book, quote, you'll see an image of animatronic heads each with a lit eye, meaning that Golden Freddy in the back only had 1 eye lit. I go into this more in a dedicated video linked up in the top right right corner if you want to go check that out. And it ate Happiest Day masks. FNAF 3's Happiest Day minigame was the final minigame required to get the good ending. The ending where the animatronics had no lights on and the spirits had been put to rest. But there was something out of place that we didn't really mention at the beginning because we didn't want to deal with it. But there are multiple characters wearing masks from animatronics that we had never seen before. But why and how? Where did these masks of alligators, pigs, hippos and elephants and more come from? Well, we now know that it's the mediocre Melodies crew introduced in FNAF 6, and the alligator ends up being Montgomery Gator from Security Breach, because while it is a green mask, no frog has a snout that long. Which makes me think, when does this Happiest Day minigame actually take place in the timeline? Because like, if all these animatronics existed at the same time, I mean, like, what? I guess when one mystery is solved, another appears. And it's 7's security puppet. The security puppet was something that was quite the mystery for a few fans. Well, if Charlotte was killed outside the restaurant, how was the puppet able to get possessed? Since we know that we typically have to be in the vicinity of the object that we're possessing. This was explained to us in the security puppet minigame from FNAF 6, where we see the puppet crawl out to Charlotte in the rain after William drives off. This was a simple yet much needed explanation, at least to me, since it was very confusing how the laws of what's actually possible seemingly changed with each individual. But with that simple scene we understood the whole story. How a loving father was scared for his daughter's safety, how she was in danger thanks to William, so in an effort to protect her, Henry developed a green wristband that had specific coding on it. This code released a signal that the puppet animatronic would prioritize in case anything happened. Then, while stuck outside, William struck, which set off the bracelet alerting the puppet, who in a last-ditch attempt crawled in the rain and merged with Charlotte. A sad but evidently required story. And at 6, Lefty. The Lefty animatronic really came out of nowhere in FNAF 6. It looked like just another version of Freddy, but with the help of a secret ending and some rare screens, we got a bigger picture quite quickly. In what is known as the Insanity ending, we listened to a recording of Henry where he explains how he regrets unknowingly helping William in his killing spree and how he wanted to make things right. As he's talking, however, we see blueprints of various animatronics and mechanisms throughout the series, each with explanations for how they do certain things. Within these blueprints we also see Lefty, which in turn stands for lure, encapsulate, fuse, transport, and extract, and that it lures something by emitting the bracelet code 934012333. And thanks to the security puppet minigame and a rare screen, we can tell that Lefty was meant to lure the puppet and does so successfully, since we can see the puppet's arm inside the animatronic while Lefty is sitting in the alley. A nice little explanation for the mystery of where the puppet was during FNAF 6. Because, I mean, we didn't know. Halfway through in at number 5, how Baby works. Within the same blueprints that we get during the Insanity ending that allowed us to figure out what Lefty's purpose was, we also get to see Baby's blueprints. We can see that she's 7 foot 2 inches tall, has an air hose attachment on her right hand, her song databank is where her brain would be, and that she has an emergency stop on the leg, most likely installed after the Elizabeth incident. However, in this blueprint we can also see the wireframe of a child huddled into a ball. This wouldn't really be noticeable though if we hadn't seen Funtime Freddy's blueprint, where we learn that he has a containment chamber and another child inside of him. This was actually all hinted at during the opening scene of Sister Location, where Afton lists off the various features of the baby animatronic, saying she can dance, she can sing, she's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips, she can take song requests, she can even dispense ice cream. Before being replied to with all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton, which alluded to there being more than meets the eye, and while we do see it in that game, at least this gives us more of an explanation. And at 4, Scrap Trap's identity. When FNAF 6 came out, the Mike Trap versus Will Trap debate was louder than it ever had been before, thanks to the introduction of Scrap Trap, who some fans believe to be a new character, which only got worse when both versions of the character were featured in Ultimate Custom Night. But this had already been sorted when Scott told everyone that MatPat's conclusion to the debate, where MatPat concluded that William was Springtrap, was indeed correct. And in Ultimate Custom Night, Scrap Trap says, "I always come back," which is William's signature line, because no matter how hard we try, this man won't die. I mean, he has now, but like, still. It's also confirmed in the animatronics inventory section for Ultimate Custom Night in the Freddy Files Updated Edition, where Scraptrap is referred to as Scraptrap/William Afton. You can't get any more straightforward than that. And while yes, Springtrap doesn't have the /William Afton, Scott already confirmed that he was William in the Reddit/Steam post that I mentioned before. Boom! You looking for this? Truth bombs! Getting close to the end into number 3, first animatronics. We always figured that the FNAF 1 animatronics were the first ones made after the Springlock versions of Freddy and Bonnie, but that was always an assumption. But then FazFax comes in with the truth bombs and drops us some knowledge right at the president's feet. One of the FazFax states, quote, "Some of the first animatronics built by William Afton featured claw mechanisms that were able to hide away items inside them, which means that strangely enough, the Funtime animatronics are the first ones made, or at least some of the first ones, and I'm guessing after the Springlock suits, which does make certain things more confusing, but at least we know which ones are the closest to being made first without having to speculate. I mean, like, it doesn't mean that these were the first animatronics, only that they were made around the beginning of the company or around William's kind of like spiral, but it also shows us that William always had sinister intentions, so it's not because his kids died that he started killing people. Penultimately, into number 2, Purple Guy. Before Sister Location's release, we could only speculate as to the name of the individual we knew as Purple Guy. Tons of names were made, with Dave being the most popular and the one that was generally accepted. Even still, however, the true Purple Guy name reveal of William Afton started in the FNAF novels, specifically the first novel in the series, The Silver Eyes. This was shown to those of us who didn't want to read the book that most people called cringe by Matt Pat in his theory on the subject, but the response was really, like, oh man. A decent amount of people were glad that we at least had some form of canon name for the character, even if it wasn't going to be in the games. But others were upset because Matt had used the books for his theories, which don't share the same continuity, but like, it's the closest we were gonna get. His theory, however, was actually confirmed to be true during the Sister Location's starting scene where we first hear Afton speak, talking about Baby's various features, which is also how we found out that she has more to her than meets the color changing after getting possessed eye, because, you know, I mentioned it before. Why'd you skip that number? Like, what? Don't do that. That's weird. Finally, in number 1, Golden Freddy's name. Since the beginning of FNAF, we had been wondering about the mysterious and seemingly supernatural Golden Freddy, the entity able to travel through solid doors and walls, who gave us hallucinations and crashed our game when they got to us. Who was this mysterious being? Over the years, we got a few names, most notably with the gravestone ending in FNAF 6, but even with that, Golden Freddy's name always eluded us. And if they are the one you should not have killed, or if they aren't, the name wasn't given to us in Ultimate Custom Night either, only an alias. But alas, we were saved when the FNAF Survival Logbook came out, where we were jumping through more hoops than dogs at a dog show, or dolphins at SeaWorld when they just want food. We uncovered the name Cassidy, thanks to wrong numbers on various pages becoming coordinates in the word search. It was a lot for a name reveal that honestly didn't mean much to the series, since the name Cassidy only appears in one other place, that being the FNAF novel The Fourth Closet, and the character is of little consequence. But if I didn't put this at number 1, I'm sure plenty of you would have gotten mad, so there you go.